The cornerback talent has been outstanding in back-to-back drafts, 2022 and 2023. The question is, which class would you prefer? Not as rookies, but just as pure prospects. We'll discuss and break it down next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You know where you can find me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout, first of all, with the Draft Network, and your favorite and local running back guru. And my boy, Keith Sanchez, Mr. LSU himself, which we might be talking about one of his former players, you know what I mean, from LSU. You can find Keith Sanchez on Twitter at The Talent Code. Keep talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, senior draft analyst with the Draft Network, man, and 2019 national champ. Yes, those LSU Tigers, man, but you know why we're here. We're here to bring that championship level content surrounding the NFL draft, DP. And DP, I don't think there's too many other things we'd rather talk about, man, than defensive backs, right? And we go through, last year was a heavy defensive back group. We talked about how extremely talented it was. It produced, two all-pro guys in Tariq Woolen and Sauce Gardner, right? Well, at least Pro Bowl caliber players, right? Then this year, they're saying that this class is even better, but we said, hold on. Pump the brakes, baby. Let's go through this, man. So this episode, man, we're going to go through this thing, man, round by round, right? And just kind of segment these guys and say, hey, do we like the 2022 class better or do we like the 2023 class better? But DP, before we get into this thing, man, why don't you hit them with one of our title sponsors?
As always, guys, this episode is brought to you and sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on a journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. Keith, 2022-2023 battle, the cornerback classes, just a ton of talent. Outstanding depth of talent, Keith. And I would say this, we let's go through. You talked about going round for round real quick. Round one, we had really the same amount of corners, you know what I mean, in both classes, which we kind of, I think you were kind of the first person that talked about the 2023 class, like in a different light than everybody else. We thought it was going to be like a run. I know I did. I thought it was going to be 5 to 7 cornerbacks come off the board because I really like the talent and potential of these guys. But back-to-back classes in the first round with 4 cornerbacks off the board. In 2022, of course, as you know, Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU went third pick overall to the Houston Texans. Sauce Gardner, 4th pick in the draft. Trent McDuffie, 21st pick in the first round to the Kansas City Chiefs, and Kaiir Elam, the 23rd pick to the Buffalo Bills, who actually moved up to get him. Jumped in front of, I believe, New England. And this year, it started a little later, pick 5, not too later, but pick 5, Devon Witherspoon to the Seattle Seahawks. Then there was a drop-off, Keith. The next corner didn't come off the board until pick 16. It's pick 16 at 17 when you had Emmanuel Forbes to the Washington Commanders at 16, and the New England Patriots traded back, I think, once or twice to get Christian Gonzalez. And then you look at Deonte Banks falling to 24 and him being selected by the New York Giants. When you look at these, all 8 of these corners, right? The 2 classes, Keith, not so much what we saw on the field as the 2022 class as rookies, but just as prospects. How do you weigh it?
Yeah, I'm going with the 2022 class, man. I just think it was like when we're talking about first round prospects. You have to compare, right? Like that's how you have to go, like kind of match for match type situations. And if you ask me, okay, Derek Stingley versus whoever's in round 1 of this draft, right? Devon Witherspoon, Emmanuel, Forbes, Christian Gonzalez. I go with Derek Stingley as the prospect, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an LSU guy, right? I would even look at, you had Sauce Gardner. We know who Sauce was, but man, when you look at Sauce, I think he compares to an Emmanuel Forbes-esque type of football player, in the sense of the fact of these are guys that are probably better in zone. You know, they're going to make plays on the football, instinctual, come up, high intensity type guys. So with that, I almost press push, right? I would say that that's even. Then you look at, you know, I'm sorry, you look at, where am I? I'm going back through these tabs real quick. You look at Christian Gonzalez. I'm sorry. You look at Christian Gonzalez, man. And I'm like, okay, I really like Christian Gonzalez. And if I had to pick one guy that had a more complete skill sets compared to Derek Stingley, it'll probably be him, right? But I would still give the edge to Derek Stingley, man. And then I finish up, right? We have Deonte Banks, for the 2023 class. But then you look at the 2022 class, there was still Kaiir Elam, right? That I like Kaiir Elam more than I like Deonte Banks. And then you still had Trent McDuffie, right? Who is also another talented player. So if you ask me, DP, I just think that the last year's class was more well-rounded prospects. I compared Deonte Banks to Kaiir Elam, but I like Kaiir Elam better because I think his ball skills are, they're better suited. So, and even you look at Trent McDuffie, right? Trent McDuffie versus Devon Witherspoon. I've said it on this podcast, and I'll say it again. I think Devon Witherspoon is a good zone player, but when you put him in man-to-man situations, there's still a lot that needs to be developed, right? And he can get there, but you're talking about being the number one cornerback off the board. I'm not sure if that happens in last year's draft at all. He's probably cornerback 5 or something like that. So if you ask me, I'm definitely going with last year's class as far as the first round in 2022.
This was tough for me, Keith, because I like both groups, but I actually lean to 2023. I like the upside for these young men, especially we looked at Sauce and you talk about Emmanuel Forbes, but even with Devon Witherspoon, fit is everything. We know that, right? Scheme is really what makes these situations so important. And I think Devon Witherspoon going to Seattle is a great fit. Like you talked about his struggles when it comes to man-to-man coverage, and a lot of it's mostly press man. He's much better in like cushion. If you're going to play off man, where back pedal, give cushion, drive on the ball, he's more physical than any cornerback, in my opinion, in the 2023 first round, especially probably in the 2023 class, period. Truthfully, in terms of a guy that is willing to come up, make hits, make tackles, physical at the catch point as well, even though doesn't have the height and length of Stingley and Sauce. Like I said, Forbes and Sauce are, to me, very similar players, play with very similar styles and mannerisms and everything else. Gonzalez, to me, to both of us, he was CB1. And like we talk about just pure man-to-man cover skills, the only guy in the two classes, Keith, that really like could compare to him was Stingley. You know what I mean? It wasn't Sauce. It wasn't any of these other guys. Like Gonzo was the best man-to-man corner, second best man-to-man corner out of the two groups, in my true, honest opinion. So, and you talk about Kaiir Elam, like that, the Banks, and I think for me it's Banks and what's his name, McDuffie. And if you ask me who I'd rather have, Banks or McDuffie, I'd rather have Banks. I like a guy that's physical. He's got the athleticism. Both of them are athletic. To get it twisted, like McDuffie can move and he's athletic as well. But I think Banks has a much higher upside. But you said something that was very true. Banks has to learn how to locate the ball. You talk about the ball skills. He's very sticky in coverage. He gets into the hip, squeezes to chest to chest, squeezes guys to the sideline. But turn around, young fella, locate the football and make a play on it, so that then you can really see that true value of your skill set. Because it's one thing to wipe a guy out, but you got to think about being able to turn around, find the ball, and not get defensive pass interference penalties because you don't see the ball, but the receiver sees the ball and he's trying to work back through your frame. So it's definitely something to be cognizant of. But I kind of lean a little bit to that 2023 class as prospects, because I think there's a lot of upside. I think there's a lot of upside.
Oh
Keith.
man, come on, man.
Yeah, I think there's upside, baby.
DP, come on. But nah, man, that wraps up round one, man. Really day one, right? Day one of the draft. What we're going to do is going to break this thing day 1, day 2, day 3 prospects. So coming up next, we get into day 2 prospects, man. And for the 2022 class, right, there's some rather intriguing names. You're talking to Lante Taylor with the New Orleans Saints, Cam Taylor-Britt with the Cincinnati Bengals, right? You're talking Martin Emerson with the Cleveland Browns. Then you look at this year, day 2, right? You have Julius Brents, Joey Porter Jr. So coming up next, we're going to talk about the day two, right, of these two classes, these back-to-back classes, and which one we rather. DP, he can lean towards the 2023 class, a little bit of recency bias, maybe, right? But we're going to get into that coming up next, man. Day two cornerback comparisons.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Guys, I've talked to you guys before about how much time I've spent, I worked in mental health, but also would see a counselor myself, just to work on me. And BetterHelp allows you to do that, guys. You get to spend time with someone that's unbiased, they're licensed, and they can really help take you through a journey so that you can step into being a better version of yourself. Life gets hard. Life throws a lot of different things your way, our way, punches, everything. You just got to be able to withstand the storm. But having a therapist, a licensed therapist, where you can feel free to share your experience and you can do so without being judged, and you could do it in the comfort of your own home, guys. So I would just advise you, if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do is just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched up with a licensed therapist. And you can also switch therapists if you want to. And if you don't like the one that you have, you can switch at any time for no additional charge. So, guys, listen, find more balance with BetterHelp. Just visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Give it a try. Day two, round two, Keith. We look at these corners that were selected. And the wild part, Keith, I know a lot of people would assume that there were more corners selected in the first two rounds of 2022 rather, than 2023. But I'm going to pump the brakes on that because it wasn't, Keith. It was only 9 total in the first two rounds for 2022. I believe we had 11 to 12 in 2023, Keith. So I'm going to run off some names real quick for the second round. Joey Porter Jr., first pick off the board in round 2. Julius Brents. I don't know. Brian Branch is listed as a corner. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Brian Branch and Jartavius Martin, both listed at corners. I'll allow it. Cam Smith, Tyreek Stevenson, DJ Turner was the final corner come off the board in 2023 second round, where in second round of 2022, we had Roger McCreary, Kyler Gordon, Andrew Booth, Alante Taylor, and Cam Taylor-Britt, Keith. So what side of the spectrum, what side of the line are you walking this time, brother?
Oh, man, this is so tough. It's tough. And let me tell you why it's tough. I think it's a battle of basically differing players, right? Because the headliners for 2023 is what? Julius Brents and Joey Porter Jr., both 6'2" corners, at long, athletic, can run, probably better in zone type situations. And then when you look at 2022, right, you're talking about Cam Taylor-Britt, you're talking about Andrew Booth, right? Both, they're not smaller guys, right? But they play more man-to-man situations. They're not 6'2" and extremely long. So if you ask me, this kind of goes down. Man, this is tough. This is tough because I think Brents and Joey Porter Jr., the potential when you're talking about grabbing them in the second round is through the roof. So I'm gonna have to go with 2023. I know I just got on you in the last segment about you switching up. I think I'm gonna go with 20. I'm gonna go with 2023, man, because there's just the height, weight, athletic component to this, right? And then you still add in Cam Smith, who is that man-to-man corner, and
Right.
DJ Turner, who ran that 4.240, who can play man. So I think this year's, I'll say this, I'm gonna hold strong to what I said in the first segment. The first round was better of last year in 2022. The first round corners were better. But if you look at the second round corners that came off the board, I have to lean towards 2023, man, because it's versatility. They have man corners, they have these big physical zone corners, and they have the 4.26 and DJ Turner, who can also play man.
Come on over to the dark side, brother. Now I'm with you. 2023 second round is definitely it for me. And like you said, when you have 2'6", 6'3" corners that have 34-inch arms and are still developing, that upside is incredible. You got potential CB1s out of these guys that can legitimately play on the perimeter, play man-to-man, and play zone, and really kind of wipe out. You know what I'm saying? Like their ceiling is much higher than what you think about a Roger McCreary or Kyler Gordon, two guys that are predominantly nickel slot type of corners. They did venture outside during their time in college and in the NFL. But when you look at what you can get out of Brents and Porter, it's a much higher upside there.
Yeah, so I have a question. I'm looking at this right now, DP. With these guys that we talked about upside, which one of these guys, because this is what the listeners want to know, right? Like who can blow up, right? Who can become a pro bowler, that
That
all
guy,
pro type, yeah, that guy. Who is that dude in this second round for the 2023 class, man? Because you have some intriguing prospects, but like when you look at it, who can be that dude?
Keith, I mean, we talked about Joey Porter Jr. and Julius Brents. I think Brents, to me, really could be that guy. But I want to go down to DJ Turner. And I said that I said earlier in the first segment that Derek Stingley and Christian Gonzo were the two best out of these two groups, the two best man-to-man corners. The third best man-to-man corner is DJ Turner. Patience, footwork, hip fluidity. Everything is so smooth, yet he's twitched up and explosive as an athlete to where if you do get inside or outside of him and he has to zone turn, which we typically don't want corners to do, he can get right back in phase, Keith. Like this is a young man that you rarely see him get defeated in man-to-man coverage, especially even for a guy that's a little bit on like I think he's like 5'10", like he's on the he's not
Yeah,
six
he's
two.
not big. Yeah, he might
Yeah,
be
he's not big.
5'11", 180 or something like
Right.
that. Not a
So
big
like
guy.
you watch Marvin Harrison Jr., yeah, he'd be able to catch a back shoulder fade on him, but he's in position. He's in phase all the time, it feels like. So like I think he's a guy, I think he went to the Cincinnati Bengals where he could be he's one of those guys. I think he could be a dude in the NFL. One of those, you think about Jair Alexander, I think Denzel Ward's, those kind of the guys
That's
that
what
those.
I immediately with DJ. I immediately went to the Cleveland Browns corners, right?
Mhm.
Denzel Ward
Yep.
and Greg Newsome, like because
Greg
they
Newsome.
both sub 6 foot, 180 pounds, not known for being extremely physical, but the footwork is off the chart. So
Immaculate.
yeah. So I agree, man. DJ Turner is one of those guys, and then I
Cam
like
Smith.
yeah, Cam. That's all, man. And Cam Smith gonna be in a hell of a role, right? Just playing with Jalen
Mhm.
Ramsey and Xavier Howard, two veteran, cornerbacks. But if I had to look at the boom potential, it has to be Joey Porter Jr. Just simply being back with the Steelers and them, because they run man, but then they also run some zone concepts too, letting him do his thing. Everything is gonna be invested. Like you just feel like, okay, this is gonna turn out. And this is just one of those storybook endings, right? Like when Joey Porter Jr., when the Steelers didn't take him the first time, you're like, okay, they're going to find a way to get Joey Porter Jr. This is just going to happen. So you ask me, man, Joey Porter Jr. to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You want to talk about that Tariq Woolen? You want to talk about that Sauce Gardner type impact? I think Joey Porter Jr. has the opportunity to make
Ooh.
that type of impact in this year's class.
Hey man, like that's some high praise, but I like that a lot. And when you talked about Cam Smith, bro, think about this young man being in the cornerback room with Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard with that type of knowledge that he's about to just like, and I think their defensive coordinator is Vic Fangio. Like this kid's in the awesome spot, Keith, to really learn and he's got the size and everything you want to play an outside corner. So they got that ability to go man to man and just beat you up at the line of scrimmage, and they can run with anybody. Truthfully, most of their corners can run with you as well. So Cam Smith is one of those guys as well. Like I think the 2023 class, that second round has so much more potential to you have multiple guys that could become a guy. Porter, Brent, Cam Smith, and then like I said, DJ Turner, man. I really liking him too. What you see with Denzel Ward, Newsome, Jair Alexander as well.
All right, yeah. Look, DP. Look, we talked second round, man, but this is what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna go third, fourth, sixth, seventh round, right? You pick your top three guys from the 2023 class. I'm gonna pick my three guys, right? You bring your three to the table. I'm gonna bring my three to the table, and we're gonna discuss who has the best three, man. So coming up next, man, I'm gonna allow DP, give him a couple seconds because I threw a curveball at him. He wasn't expecting this, man. Threw another
Sounds
curveball at him.
good.
I'm gonna get my three together, and coming up next, man, we're gonna talk about our, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round corners that we think can really be those dudes and compare.
All right, Keith. So my three guys starting in the third round: Garrett Williams, who was selected to the Arizona Cardinals. Keely Ringo. I ain't moving off the Keely Ringo love, man. Keely Ringo in the fourth round to those Philadelphia Eagles. And then this was tough, but I'm gonna go Darius Rush, fifth round, who was selected by the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay, I like that. I like that. I like that. There's a lot of potential in there, DP. So with mine, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start in the fourth round, right? I'm gonna start in the fourth
Mhm.
round with Damari Mathis. Yes, Denver Broncos, Damari Mathis. Expect this guy to take off. He's playing with Patrick Surtain the second. I think his stock is going to continue to elevate. Then I'm going to give him a little bit of a curveball. Not too many people like the New England Patriots, but they did a hell of a job with this draft pick. Watching this guy, this is extremely instinctual, man to man, can play some zone corner, and cornerback Jack Jones. So that's my second guy. And then I got to go with Mr. Ballhawk himself, man, Tariq Woolen, baby, with the Seattle Seahawks. So DP, I like your guys. But I think my guy's a little bit better, man. I think Tariq Woolen, he just, he knocked the icing off the cake. I think that's, just you look at the depth and things like that with my three guys. I think my three guys are better.
I like your guys, Keith. I do. I like your guys. I think my guys hold up pretty well as prospects, though, Keith. Because I think Damari Mathis and Garrett Williams, they're kind of similar players in my opinion, and they can do
Okay.
similar things: play outside, play press man, drop off in zone, willing to come up and tackle. Garrett Williams, as we talked about, leading up to it, his game is very similar to Devon Witherspoon. Like, he does not mind coming up and punching you in the face. You know what I mean? Ball carrier, receiver, don't matter. And I think Keely Ringo, when you look at two names from the 2023 class that kind of I could see a path for him. Martin Emerson, who went to the Cleveland Browns, who had a really strong rookie season, right? And then Tariq Woolen. So, because
Yeah.
people,
So that's
go
the
ahead,
thing, right?
go ahead.
When you like, okay, if we can, we're gonna kind of go blow for blow, kind of match player for player. And Tariq Woolen fell to the fifth round. And last year when he
Mhm.
fell to the fifth round, we were sitting there like, what the hell is the NFL doing? Right? Like,
Right.
guy, he can run fast, he can jump, he's athletic, he makes plays on the football. So I'm gonna just go ahead and put you on the spot, DP, real quick.
Mhm.
Do you think Keely Ringo has the potential to have that type of impact, right? Like a guy that slid some, and then but we can turn around within a year and be like, you know what, this dude's a certified baller.
I think so, Keith. Athleticism, the height, the frame, ability to play both press man, off man, and zone. I think, and this is still a young kid. I think he's only like 21 years old or something like that. He's young. This young man that he's played, started back to back seasons. Like, he missed a first year at Georgia, I think, due to an injury. So he's still growing into the position. And what does that sound like? It sounds like Tariq Woolen, who was a receiver who transferred over to cornerback, and he was a little raw in terms of technique and everything like that. People worry about he's high hipped, he's tall, he's long, he's not going to be able to transition the best and things like that. But guess what? They didn't tell Tariq Woolen to play man to man coverage against those twitchy, explosive, smaller receivers 24/7. It was like, oh, DeAndre Hopkins is back for the Arizona Cardinals. Tariq, go up man to man. That's your job. You know what I mean? Because that's a guy that he fits in terms of playing press man against. And I think the same thing with Keely Ringo, especially going over to Philadelphia, where he's going to have the opportunity to learn from a James Bradbury and a Darius Slay with the coaching staff there, Keith. But I'm going to say something. Darius Rush, I'm telling you now, man, Darius Rush, we saw him another very similar to Tariq Woolen, former wide receiver that transitioned to cornerback, and you saw it down in Mobile. You saw some of the rawness on tape, but the guy we saw down in Mobile, under control, patient, just
Mhm.
everything. He was very nuanced, understanding how to read the close hip. Hips, listen, man, hips don't lie, baby. Eyes lie. If you watch the eyes of a receiver, you'll get got. But the hips don't lie. Shakir said that too back in the 90s, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
oh
Hips don't
man,
lie.
this man
Uh,
here.
but I'm saying, man, like, the hips don't lie for a DB, and he understands how to read them because he's, similar to Richard Sherman. And typically there's receivers that transition the corner. They typically have a good career, or they transition well because they know how to run the routes with the receivers. They understand breaks, they
Yep.
understand pad level, all of that stuff, man. So I think, I think my three, we playing 3-on-3 pickup basketball to 21. I think it's a 20-21 situation, but we get in the final point.
I doubt that. I doubt that. But it's all good, man. It's all good. And just to throw out one other name, Deron Bland, I'm with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, yeah.
Another really good football player. So all in all, man, look, we're talking about two talented cornerback classes, going back and forth, man. We thought it'd be fun to kind of compare the classes, man. Who in tomorrow's episode, right? think we're going to get into these edge rushers, man. Talk about another premium position. We're going to get into these edge rushers, see which class was better, right? The 2022 class or the 2023 class. So that'll be tomorrow's episode, man. Had a lot of fun doing this episode, and only time will tell, right? Which cornerback class will end up, having the most Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers, starters, XYZ. We'll have to have this conversation again in about 5 years.
For sure. As always, guys, we tell y'all so much. We appreciate all the love and support. Go subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. We thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day, Monday through Friday. And as we always tell you, you're not only family, but you're the everydayers. Remember, that's who you are, guys. So we appreciate it. In terms of Twitter, you can find Keith Sanchez at The Talent Code. I'm Damian Parson, DP_NFL. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.